Shalom, everyone. Let's talk about Passover and the Passover Lamb. In the book of Exodus, chapter 12, it reads that the Israelites, the Hebrews, who have been in bondage in Egypt for a little over 400 years, are about to be delivered. And the way that they are going to be delivered out of this bondage, and this takes place in the first Hebrew month known as Abib or Nisan. Okay, they are to take a lamb and slay that lamb and eat that lamb. It is to be a lamb that is to be 1 year old, without spot, without blemish. It reads that in Exodus 12, verse 5. Okay, and they are to take the blood of this perfect lamb and to put it on their doorposts. Okay, Exodus chapter 12, verses 12 and 13, I'm going to read. And I shall pass through the land of Mitzrayim, which is Egypt, on that night, and shall strike all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, both man and beast. And on all the mighty ones of Mitzrayim I shall execute judgment. I am Yahuwah. And the blood shall be a sign for you on the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I shall pass over you, and let the plague not come on you to destroy you when I strike the land of Mitzrayim. So this is where Passover comes from right here. It is not a Jewish thing, it is a biblical thing, it is a Torah thing, and it is actually a prophecy of the coming of Messiah and his slaying, which took place also on Abib 14. This was on Abib 14. This is a 1500-year prophecy, okay, about Messiah, about the Lamb, okay? So I'm going to read to you from the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 29. On the next day, Yohanan, who is John, saw Yahushua, who is commonly known as Jesus, coming toward him, and said, See, the Lamb of Elohim who takes away the sin of the world. Okay, so when the Hebrews were delivered out of their bondage, okay, 1,500 years earlier, approximately 1,500 years earlier, out of Egypt, they were delivered out of bondage, and Yahuwah says, I shall pass over when I see the blood on your doorposts. Okay, they were delivered from death as well. So this is a prophecy of Messiah and his blood covering your sin, delivering you from death and bondage. Okay, so the point of this is to try to show that Yahushua's Father, the true Father, is the God of the Old Testament, or the so-called God of the Old Testament, the mighty one of the Old Testament, who some believe and are promoting on YouTube now and are believing this, that this, God of the Old Testament is really Lucifer and a false God, which is completely untrue. So this is why, I want to bring this out to show that this is Yahushua's Father, this is our Father, this is the true Creator, the true Father. Okay, something interesting here. Exodus chapter 12, verse 46. This is an interesting prophecy right here regarding the eating of the lamb. It is eaten in one house. You are not to take any of the flesh outside the house, nor are you to break any bone of it. Okay? John chapter 19, verse 33. This is at Yahushua's execution, his crucifixion. But when they came to Yahushua and saw that he was already dead, they did not break his legs. Now that is something that's kind of obscure, okay? But it's masterfully put together. The Bible is masterfully put together. And that is a very kind of, a very subtle prophecy, okay? But one that shows also, this is his true Father, our true Father, okay? Now, why is it that John would refer to him as the Lamb? I mean, how would he get, a nickname, so to speak, if that's a nickname, at all? Well, it isn't a nickname. It isn't anything like that. He is the Passover Lamb, because this is a prophecy about the coming of the Messiah and his crucifixion and the shedding of his blood to cover your sin. Okay? Now, read the book of Revelation. He is referred to in Revelation as the Lamb in 26 different verses. Okay? Now, Why else would he be referred to as the Lamb? Because he is the Passover Lamb. It is by his blood only which can deliver you from sin, death, and bondage, just like the Hebrews were out of Egypt. Okay? Also, Revelation chapter 12, verse 17. And the dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went to fight with the remnant of her seed, those guarding the commands of Yahuwah and possessing the testimony of Yahushua Messiah. Okay? So, if this mighty one, this God of the Old Testament is not the true Father, why would it read something like this? Okay? Because what other commands could be referenced here other than the commands in the Torah, the 10 Commandments, okay? The dietary laws, the keeping of the true feast, such as Passover, okay? And on this note, real quick, I want to note that in Exodus chapter 13, verse 9, and Exodus 13, verse 16, it says that the keeping of Passover is a mark as frontlets between your eyes and on your hand. That is a sign, that is a spiritual mark of Yahuwah. Okay, so think about the mark of the beast and the parallel there. In Revelation chapter 13, verse 16, the mark of the beast is in or upon the forehead and in or upon the right hand. Okay? Revelation chapter 14, verse 12. Here is the patience of the set-apart ones. Here are they that guard the commandments of Yahuwah and the faith of Yahushua. Okay, so right there, it's telling you, guard the commandments of the true Father Yahuwah as they are laid down in the Torah, and have the faith in the Lamb, the Passover Lamb of Yahushua. Okay? Now, on this channel, there's a video. It's like a 10-minute video of Ron Wyatt. It's entitled Ron Wyatt, Yahushua's Blood on the Mercy Seat. Check that out. Okay? It's well worth a watch. And because the Ark of the Covenant was placed below the site of his crucifixion. Okay? And, when the Romans pierced his side, okay, blood came out, and it went into the cracks of the earth, and it went down, and it landed on the mercy seat, okay, of the Ark of the Covenant, ratifying the Old Covenant and the New Covenant. It's a beautiful thing. Check this out, okay, for anyone, and that blood has been analyzed as well. That's another reason to watch that, because there is this assertion that there is no that there was no virgin birth, okay, and that was inserted by pagan elements of the Greeks and the Romans and so forth. But watch watch some stuff regarding Ron Wyatt. There's also another documentary on this channel by Ron Wyatt, and it's entitled Ron Wyatt: Amazing Discoveries. It's an hour and 20 minutes long. It's fantastic. Okay, now also we'll talk a little bit about this name of God, okay, G-O-D, which everyone refers to the Father as. I mean, almost everyone, it is so entrenched in people's consciousness. I mean, it was in mine as well, although I've only been on this walk for about 5 years now. It is just such a part of our makeup to refer to the Father as God, okay? But God, G-O-D, is not merely a title. I believe that this is actually calling on a different name. But people are so conditioned to believe that this is just who, when referring to the Father, you just refer to him as God, okay? But various different religions, it's kind of like God is just kind of, commonly thrown around, that it is this mighty one, this creator and so forth, but he actually has a name, okay? So let's discuss a little bit of that too. And on that note, real quick, I just want to include that I'm going to leave a link. Okay, I'm going to leave 3 links. Okay, now one of those is going to be called Who is God? Okay, and it's by a channel, Messenger of the Name. Okay, and it's going to really expound on what I'm going to talk about a little bit here. Okay, but also as I include links in every video that I make, by messenger of the name. One is called Restoring the Creator's Name, Hashem Revealed, regarding the Father's name and why his name is Yahuwah, why the pronunciation is Yahuwah, and also another one entitled, What is his son's name, as to why the name of Messiah is Yahushua and not Jesus and not Yahushua and not Yeshua. Okay? So that's well worth it. It's an hour and 48 minutes long. Okay, so I'm going to read from the book of Isaiah, chapter 65, verse 11. And this reads, But you are those who forsake Yahuwah, who forget my set-apart mountain, who prepare a table for Gad, and who fill a drink offering for many. Now, I've looked at what various different English Bible versions read. Now, if you're reading the King James, in place of where it says Gad right here, now I'm getting this from the Scriptures, okay? And I'm going to be reading from the back of the Scriptures regarding an explanation of this as it appears in here as G-A-D, okay? But if you read the King James, it'll appear as that troop. And then in a lot of other Bible versions, it will appear as fortune, that they set a table for the god of fortune or the deity of fortune or something to that effect. Okay? So, Strong's Concordance 1408, G-A-D, the pronunciation, it shows you how to pronounce this, and it is G-A-W-D, which tells me that the pronunciation of that is God. Okay? And the definition of this is fortune, a Babylonian deity. Now that is a very important distinction that is shown here in Isaiah 65:11. But you are those who forsake Yahuwah, who is the Father, who forget my set-apart mountain, who prepare a table for, as it reads here, Gad, what appears to be Gad, but the pronunciation is God, and who fill a drink offering for many, M-E-N-I. Okay, so from the back of the Scriptures, we get an explanation about G-A-D. And this is what it reads. The astrologers of Babel, which is more commonly known as Babylon, called Jupiter or Zeus by the name Gad or God. Okay? He was also well known among the Canaanites, where his name was often coupled with Baal or Baal God, which, according to the Masoretic vowel pointing in the book of Yahushua, which is Joshua, okay, so if there were a transliteration of Messiah's name of Yahushua, it should appear as Joshua instead of Jesus. Okay, let me go back and read that sentence once again. He was also well known among the Canaanites, where his name was often coupled with Baal, Baal God, which, according to the Masoretic vowel pointing in the book of Yahushua, Joshua, is pronounced Baal God. This same name is discovered in the ancient Germanic languages as G-O-T-T, Got, G-O-D-A, Goda, G-O-D-E, God, G-O-D, God, G-U-D, Good, G-A-D-E, Gade. Okay, so Gad, God, is used as a proper name in Isaiah 65:11 as reference to the deity of fortune. Now that might as well be Shaitan himself. Okay? So, what has taken place and what the Father has allowed to take place. And I'm going to tell you, I'm just going to read real quick why he has allowed his name to be covered up. I'm going to read this. Proverbs chapter 25, verse 2. It is the glory of Elohim to conceal a thing, but the honor of kings is to search out a matter. Now, those who are accepted into his kingdom are referred to as kings. Okay? It is up to us to seek him, as it reads in Isaiah 55:6, and Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 3, Amos chapter 5, verses 4 and 6. It is up to us to seek him with all our hearts, minds, and souls. You know what? He's going to reveal truth to you, because his name is not for everyone. Isaiah chapter 52, verse 6. Therefore, my people shall know my name in that day, for I am the one who is speaking, See, it is I. Now, what has taken place, what he has allowed to take place, is his name, which when you would see it in the scrolls, say in the Dead Sea Scrolls, okay, it's going to appear. The Hebrew lettering is Yod He Wah He. The pronunciation is Yahuwah. Now, the name of this Babylonian deity of fortune, God, has been placed over that name, so that instead of actually calling on the Father's name, as we are told to do in Scripture in many different places, Joel 2:32, Psalm 105:1, just to name a few. Joel 2:32 is reiterated in Acts 2:21 and Romans 10:13. This is an important matter to call on his name correctly. Okay? So, the satanic organizations of this world, okay, have covered up his name so that, many are not calling on his name, but they are calling on false names such as God. All right? So that is why that appears in English Bibles. Lord also is not something that you want to be calling on, even though this is such habit, this is so entrenched in most people's consciousness to refer to him as Lord or God. Okay? So, once again, I want to encourage you to check out the videos, the 3 different links that are going to be in the description box below. Restoring the Creator's name for the Father's name. What is his Son's name for the name of Messiah, Yahushua? Okay? And also, there's an excellent teaching entitled, Who is God? All right? Because he really goes into this and he really expounds on this matter here. Okay, so I just want to bring this out a little bit because he has allowed his name to be covered up, and it is not that this isn't the true Father in the Old Testament. It's just that you're not calling on him correctly when you are calling on God. All right? Now, on this note, as I'm talking about the name, consider this verse in the book of Acts, chapter 4, verse 12. And there is no deliverance in anyone else. This is referring to Messiah. Let me start over. And there is no deliverance in anyone else. For there is no other name under the heaven given among men by which we need to be saved. Okay? Now, there's nothing I can say to that except I'm not the judge. I'm just bringing out what's actually in the Word. His name is an important matter. And the name of Yahushua is a very important matter too. Okay? Consider this. Revelation chapter 14, verse 1. And I looked and saw a lamb standing on Mount Sion, and with him 144,000, having his Father's name written upon their foreheads. Okay, now this is in reference to, in Revelation chapter 7, there is a sealing that takes place of 12,000 from each of the 12 tribes of Israel, totaling 144,000. And it tells you that they are sealed in their foreheads. And it tells you here in Revelation chapter 14, verse 1, what that seal is. It is his Father's name. And here's one example where he is referred to as a lamb standing on Mount Sion. Okay, now, somebody who's never read the Bible and they're reading the book of Revelation for the first time, just kind of seeing what it says, they're not going to have any idea what this is talking about. Or they saw a lamb standing on Mount Sion. Who's going to know that that's actually Messiah? Unless you know that he is the Passover Lamb. He is the fulfillment of the Passover Lamb. Okay? So, I think that's about it. I want to thank you for listening.